Joining me now is writer and broadcaster Esther Krakue. Esther, we have spoken at length about Harry's visit to the UK. Turns out he wasn't quite as maligned by his family to the extent that he made out.
Yeah, so we know that when Prince Harry came to the UK, it was actually his team that briefed the press about the fact that he wasn't able to see the king. And in his sort of announcement, he alluded to the fact that the king's diary was too busy to make room for him and that he hopes to see him next time. Now, we know that it's not entirely true because reports have come out that the king actually did offer Harry the opportunity to stay at a royal residence instead of staying at a hotel, which would, of course, come with security, not the automatic armed security that the prince has been hoping to get, but a certain degree of security. Now, we know that Prince Harry has insisted on staying in hotels when he comes to the UK because he believes he can move in and out anonymously and that it allows for sort of better levels of protection. But it does beg the question as to why he chose to refuse staying at a royal residence. If he stayed at St. James's Palace, for example, he would have been right next to Clarence house and he would have been able to see the king, even if briefly. But the fact that he chose to stay at a hotel and then brief the press is kind of indicative that he's trying to make a point. We know that he's still engaged in his battle with the High Court over, the Home Office, over his refusal, them refusing him access to automatic armed security, and that's the reason why he and his wife mainly and his children haven't come to the UK at all, really. And we also know that when Harry has applied for armed security and given notice of him coming to the UK, it's been refused, mainly on the grounds that they don't think it's important enough, or that his presence in the UK would pose a high enough risk for him to merit that. So unfortunately, he's had to rely on private security like many other celebrities here in the UK. But we know that's the sticking point for him. So what I suspect is he was trying to make a point with his father by saying that actually I will stay at a hotel because the security is not good enough for me. I think he's trying to make a point that he believes that he should only be able to be in the UK in the way that he wants when he gets the kind of armed security that he wants. He also believes that the fact that there's a kind of royal representative on RAVEC, the committee responsible for armed security for the royal family, he believes that actually if the royal family wanted it to happen and wanted him to have access to armed security, they could let it happen, or they could make it happen. But I don't think he's understanding the amount of power that members of the royal family have. The Queen herself, the late Queen, said that she wanted Harry and Meghan to be entitled to automatic security. But unfortunately, that's not even a decision up to the Queen. So I think Harry's anger is a bit misplaced. But it does show a different side of the coin because we know that there was no briefing from the royal household. It was all from Prince Harry's team. And that, again, brings up the issue of trust because he's clearly trying to put out a narrative and say that actually the king couldn't fit me into his busy schedule. But actually, the king is also undergoing cancer treatment. And if he did offer a residence, a proper royal residence, I'm assuming somewhere close to Clarence House, that is a sign that the king is trying to reach out. And for Harry to brief the press and say, actually, it was the king who couldn't make time for me, instead of him saying he refused to stay at a royal residence, does paint a different picture. And it's probably going to show why relations with the royal family are not going to warm up anytime soon. It's Harry's way or the highway.